Hey guys, Brandon Jackson. Wanted to get back to you and just do a part two from my FSBO call that I did a couple weeks back, and just kind of answer the question of what do you do next. Let's say you got the appointment with the FSBO. One, great job. Two, really how do you prepare and what do you say to get that for sale by owner to end up listing with you? And wanted to also just give some stats or some basic understanding. When I go into a for sale by owner appointment, one, and the appointments that I'm taking is a FSBO that has true motivation. There's something that they're moving to, like relocation, can't afford the house, already bought another house. Those are the folks that I'm going to end up setting an appointment with and make every effort I can to show up and do a good job. And then two, that they're open to working with an agent. So I always ask, as I did on the phone, are you open to paying a buyer's agent? I want to see how they respond to that. If they're like, no way, I'm not working with an agent, they're the worst, or I'll never work with an agent, I know it's just, at the end of the day, for me, it's just not worth the time. There's too many other good sellers that are out there that recognize what we do as a value and are open to it. Time isn't an unlimited thing. I only have so much that I can use. So again, I'm trying to focus on people that have a true motivation to sell, that are open to the idea of working with an agent. Typically, they've given me that, hey, if I can't sell on my own, I am going to hire an agent. I'm giving myself at least 30 days. I understand the truth truly is that if they're giving themselves 30 days, if I can show them a way that they don't have to keep doing this and they still win, that they're going to be open to listing with me pretty quickly. So now it's just our job is to convince them, to show them why hire you. So I get there and I typically will have a legal pad and then my pre-listing packet underneath the legal pad. And I show up to the house and I say, hey, are we still good for now? Yes, that's great. All right, well, give me a tour of the house. Let's walk around. Show me, what are the highlights of the house? What you would want to point out if I had some buyers with me. And so we'll go through, and as we're walking around, I'm taking notes. The bedrooms, the square footage, is the gas water heater, is the laundry room up, laundry room down. These are all things I also need to know when I put the house in the MLS. And then I'm also going to try to get a feel for how things have gone so far. So how have the showings gone so far? Not just the agents, the actual buyers. How many buyers have you had come through the house? And you'd be surprised. I mean, a lot of people will say, I've had tons of agents, but no buyers. Or they may say, I've had a couple buyers. In fact, someone just sent me an offer. Well, if they tell me that, I hate that, because that realistically, the odds of me getting that listing just went down. But I want to know. If they say, yeah, everyone really loves the house, but I only had 2 people come through, and they kind of haven't responded. I'm not sure where they are. Again, it's just kind of giving me an opening for further dialogue. So as we get through the house, when I first started this, I had this hardest time of converting it from a friendly conversation, I want to win you over with my personality, to like, how do I now get them to list with me? And I have this basically, it's a cue for me that I get down the bottom of the stairs or in the kitchen. I go, let me ask you, I mean, this house is great again, but what's making you really want to sell this on your own? Not that I don't think you can. I honestly really think you could get it done. But let me ask you, if I could bring you a buyer, all right, if I could bring you a buyer, handle all the objections, handle all the showings from that buyer, handle the inspectors, handle the inspection reports, negotiation of the inspection reports, handle the attorney, the title people, just really handle the whole process. And at the end of all that, if the attorney was able to hand you a check that would be the same, if not significantly better than you doing it on your own, why wouldn't you list it with me? And I want that to create like, wow, this sounds too good to be true. Because at the end of the day, really, if I could do all those things, handle the whole process, and then still get the money that they're hoping for, if not better, of course they would list it with me. So they'll typically say, well, I mean, yeah, I guess I would, but how can you do that? I said, well, that's a great question. You mind if we sit down? I'll explain. So that's the transition for me. So again, I walked through the whole house. I made him feel great. I said, this house is beautiful. I'm saying nothing but positive things. I'm taking notes. And I get down to the bottom of the stairs and I ask them, or by the door, or wherever we transition to, this house is gorgeous. But I know this job is tough. I mean, I don't like my job sometimes. So, what's making you really want to do all this on your own? And they say, well, I want to save, I figure I can save the money. I figure the houses are growing so fast now. I should have no problem selling them. You know what? You're absolutely right. I really think that you could sell this house on your own. I wouldn't be surprised one bit. But let me ask you one quick question. If I could bring you a buyer, handle all the inspections, handle all the showings, handle the emotions of the buyer, the emotions if there's another agent, the emotions of that other agent, handle the attorneys, the title, the engineers if there's engineers, the contractors if there's contractors. If I handle the whole process, and at the end of the day, at the closing table, when we do sell it and we do get it sold and closed, the attorney hands you a check, and that check is the same, if not significantly better than you doing it on your own. Why wouldn't you list it with me? And then we transition. So that's the next step that transitions the conversation from really I'm just there to look at the house to like, oh, this has got I'm intrigued. I want to know more, which is usually what happens. So we go sit down and we go through my PLP, and I'll say, I'm going to explain. There's 4 primary types of buyers. So I've sat down at the kitchen table. I have my notepad out, and I write 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 4 primary types of buyers. Number 1, Mr. Seller or Mrs. Seller is a reload buyer. That's no. Got All right, just sit down at the table and review some things. Really, so we sit down at the table, and I have my notepad out, and I said, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, there's 4 primary types of buyers that are out there today. One is a rent-to-own type buyer, and that's really a buyer that maybe they had some credit issues, maybe they're just not ready to make a commitment on a house yet, but they'd love to be in a house and have the potential financial means to buy. Are you interested in rent-to-own? No, heck no, I wouldn't do a rent-to-own. Okay, I got it. I wouldn't either, and honestly, most agents wouldn't work with them either. The second kind of buyer that you actually might already be hearing from is an investor. An investor is great in the sense that they have cash. They can typically buy a property as is, so you're not dealing with inspections or repair requests or any in the engineers, anything like that. It's usually a pretty smooth transition. The negative side of dealing with that type of buyers, they typically want things at a wholesale price because their intent isn't to live in the house, but to make an investment with the house. Therefore, they're an investor. They want to buy the house typically for anywhere from 60, sometimes up to 80 cents on the dollar, depending on the market and depending on the house and location. Would you be open to a cash offer within that margin, as is, moving your time frame, but significantly reduced sales price? And they'll usually say, no, I'm not open to that. We need everything we can get out. Okay, I got you. All right, well, the third and the fourth type of buyer are probably the buyers you would then be most interested in. And the third buyer is a reload buyer. That's someone that is coming to town for a job transfer. They usually have a well-paying job or something that's consistent and secure. They may have a house to sell back home, but it's usually at times covered by the company that's bringing them down. So they're motivated in the sense that they typically need a house and they need it quickly and they have a good job, a stable job. So that's the kind of buyer, one of the kind of buyers you're hoping comes to your house. All right, and the fourth type of buyer, and another one that you would probably want, is a move up or a move down buyer. That's someone that's either got their house on the market, they're having multiple growing family and they need more space, or maybe they had that growing family, depending on who you're talking to, and they need less space. They're ready for a master now or a ranch, and they just want to get out of it. And again, great buyer, because typically their house is under contract and they need something quick. So, and they've also been through it on your end, so they're sometimes can be easier to deal with because they've been in your shoes. So when we negotiate, they can come from a place of understanding. So those last, number 3 and 4 are, again, your ideal buyers. Number 1 and 2, not so much. Here's the deal. Number 1 and 2, an agent typically doesn't want to work with them just because of the baggage that they carry. And like investors going to make you put 50 offers to get one house, one seller that's willing to take that low ball offer. And a lease to own, did you know that like 70-80% of the time actually doesn't end in a sale? It usually ends in a long lease with an eventual move out or eviction. And so the third and the fourth, they are awesome. But here's the deal: if it's a relo, the relo company usually assigns an agent to them, right? And if they're a move up or move down, that means they usually have their house on the market, listed with an agent, and that agent is helping them find a house. And the problem for you, Mr. and Mrs. For Sale by Owner, is that most agents, not all agents, have a bias against a for sale by owner, only because, not because they don't like you as a person, but they're not comfortable working with you. You're not on a lockbox, you're not in the MLS, you don't have an agent marking the property for them to see and to talk to. They have to deal with the emotions of another seller. So they could call you, but then they have to negotiate their commissions. They have to make sure they're getting paid. They're going to do twice as much work because they have to deal with all the paperwork on their client side, all the paperwork on your side, and they end up getting less sometimes, if at all, if they're able to negotiate any commission. And so because of that, they just try to keep their clients focused on what is being marketed by another agent, all right? And so it's not that you can't sell. Honestly, Mr. and Mrs. I really think you can. The issue is you're potentially losing a lot of the best buyers that you would normally want to come only because you're not listed and working with an agent. Okay, so I mean, again, I think you can sell it. The issue is if I list your property, I'm going to be talking to those reload companies. I'm going to be talking to those other agents and marketing your property. And I have the ability to bring more good buyers into your house to see your house, therefore increasing the odds of 1, selling it quicker, and 2, selling it for more, because with competition breeds higher pricing, higher offers. Because if they know there's other people looking at it, they have the thought like, well, I don't want to lose out. They have fear, and the fear creates a win for you. So does that make sense? Do you see how I could potentially sell for faster than you and potentially for more and handle all the objections? And if at the end of the day, your concern is not making enough money because you hire an agent, what I'm here to tell you is I want to show you, even compared to another agent, I'm selling it for more. And I can go through my PLP, so break there. I can go through my PLP, which explains a little bit more in detail about, it compares like, hey, I sell homes for 99% of list price versus the normal agent sells it for 97, which is 2% more, and I sell it for, in 15 days, normal agent is 52 days, so a month faster. And I'm saying, hey, that's compared to another agent, compared to someone that doesn't do this full time, what do you think I could do? I could end up potentially working and doing all these things for you at a net no cost because I'm going to sell it for more. So what do you think? Do you want to try a joint marketing agreement? Okay, so another point that I think helps me win, I know helps me win with a for sale by owner, is I take away risk and I give them control. And the way I'm able to do that is with my flexible fee agreement and my easy exit agreement. Most agents you hire, they sign a contract for a 3, 6 month, 1 year listing agreement. And what I offer, and I call it, something else I do different than any other agent, Mr. Seller, that will help put you in a better position, is we could do a joint marketing agreement where you could keep selling the house on your own, keep working. You could do open houses. You could you could rent a billboard and do everything that you're doing now to sell your property. And at the same time, I could list your property, market your property, do what I do, follow my action plan, my step-by-step guideline to get your house sold. And if I bring you a buyer that gives you a price and the net that you want, that's the only time I would get paid. Now, if you bring a buyer that I didn't have anything to do with it. Your open house, your marketing, whatever you're doing brings a buyer to you. You could literally fire me and not pay me a dime. All right. So, I mean, again, the only way I get paid is by bringing you something that is what you want. And if I'm not part of it, like, I know the fear is you hire an agent today, and then tomorrow someone that you already talked to or someone that you already showed is interested in it. And if that agent comes, or if that buyer comes and buys the property after you listed it with an agent, you're stuck. You're gonna have to pay that whole commission because you just signed a listing agreement. But you don't have to have that fear with me, because I will only get paid if I did something to earn the commission. All right, does that make sense? So literally, I have an agreement. You'll sign it. It says you can fire me at any time without cause and without any fee, without any penalty. All right. Separately, I do a flexible fee agreement. Most agents, they have a set commission, and whether you brought the buyer, whether they brought the buyer, whether there's another agent involved, it's the same thing no matter what. And I think really it should be a staggered plan, and that's what I offer. Where if you say, hey, you know what, Brandon, I don't want to fire you. I did bring my own buyer, but I would like your help. All right, so you bring the buyer, had nothing to do with it, and you said, Brandon, will you help us negotiate the contract? And I will. And I'll do that for 1%, right? Negotiate the contract and I get you to closing. All right, that's if I didn't bring the buyer. But if I bring my own buyer, I will do it for 5%. Okay, so again, if it's my own buyer, I will reduce the commission because I want it to be a win-win. You win because you're paying less, and they win because they're getting the house, right? And then last is if there is another agent involved, because part of what I do in marketing property is I reach out to the best agents in the area and let them know about your property. I let them know even before I market it that it's coming soon, so they are aware and they bring their buyers. If that's the case, then I split the commission with them 3 and 3, but that's the worst case scenario. So if it really gives you control where you can keep doing what you're doing. You don't have to worry about losing because one of your buyers comes back and buys. And if I bring the buyer, you win because it's a reduced commission. And the only time it would be is, again, and I don't get paid unless the offer, even if it's another agent involved, doesn't give you the net that you want in order to make the deal happen. So if you agree, the price that we bring gives you the net you want after all the commissions and everything, and you walk away happy, that's the only time that would happen. All right. So what I'm doing is I'm telling the seller they're in control. They could do it, but why? All right. I'm giving them flexibility in my commissions, and they really start grinding on this and chewing on it. And man, this sounds like the perfect situation. And most sellers don't want to do this. They're tired of opening up their house and letting strangers walk in. And it's usually agents anyway, so they don't see, sometimes they start to lose hope. All right. And you can present them with a way for them to win, and that's what you're doing. And if they feel like they can win and it's not going to cost them anything, then they're more apt to do it. And believe it or not, I walk away with listings signed because of the flexible fee, the easy exit, because I show them really why it makes sense to list it with an agent, and an agent that's going to do a good job for them. So look, I know I'm slamming a whole lot down your throat here, and I'm happy to, if you ever want to set up a conference call or just a phone call with me and go into a little bit more detail, I'm happy to do it, but wanted to kind of give you a little bit more perspective on this on a video so you could have it and go back to it. I know it's a little rough, but again, hopefully a little rough is 100% more in helping you understand things than it was perfect and never on the video. So, but anyways, look, I appreciate the opportunity to be in front of you. Thanks for listening. Hopefully you find it helpful, and hopefully you go out and you win. You help more people. You list them for sale by owners, and you list more unrepresented sellers. So thanks, guys. Hope you have a great day. Make it a great year.